Yep, we're good. All right, good morning, everybody. We'll call the meeting to order at 8:31. Introduction of guests. We have Ryan Wallace joining us with Keepa Solar Village and Russ Genzel with Harris Beach. Steve Meyer with Harris Beach. Thank you all for joining us.
And just starting up real quick, this is Russ. Steve will stay on, but I have to drop at 9, so
Okay.
you'll be covered.
Thank you, Russ. We don't need an executive session today, so we'll move on to item 3 here, the review and approval of our minutes from our prior meeting. Did anybody have any comments or questions on the minutes? Okay, hearing none, do we have a motion to approve?
So moved, Kim.
Thanks, Kim. And a second?
I'll put Mary in.
Mary Ann. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that's carried. Do we have any changes in our agenda?
I don't believe so.
Any finance updates, finance report?
Nothing to report.
No checks or anything?
No?
So we'll move on to our action items. And so these 3 items are gonna be found on each of the agendas today. Maybe we'll go through them a little bit right now, a little more thoroughly here the first time. We have a recommendation from the Finance Committee to appoint our auditing firm for next year. Do you guys wanna share anything more about that, or at least provide the name and?
It's just a review for everyone that, request for proposals went out to 4 different firms that were chosen by the committee. We got 2 proposals back after the Audit Committee Audit Finance Committee reviewed them. A firm was chosen, it was, I can't remember. Drescher and Malecki, LLP. They came highly recommended by Yates County. It's who Yates County uses. Their price was also better than the other firm that applied. I didn't know if Bill had anything he wanted to add.
No, other than my experience with them has all been very positive. They seem to be a very good group.
Okay. Just want to thank all the firms that responded to our RFP. We had some nice proposals to review, and then but we'll, I guess, entertain a motion to move forward with this firm that the county uses. Would someone make that motion?
So moved, Kim.
Second, Janice.
Janice,
You
all right.
can't see me.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that's carried. The next item is our slate of officers, which I'll say out loud, but what we're proposing is to keep them the same unless there are any objections or volunteers that want to step into one of the roles here. But I'll read them out loud of what they currently are, and then we'll have some discussion and then a vote here. But the chairman is myself, Ryan Halings. Vice chair is Janice. Treasurer is Serene. Secretary is Kim. And assistant secretary / treasurer is Mary Ann Rogers. Does anybody have any comments they want to share or anything to add there?
Nope.
No? Okay. We'd entertain a motion to approve that as the slate of officers for next year.
So moved.
Janice, do we have a second?
Seconded, Kim.
All right,
Seconded,
thanks.
Kim.
Thanks, Kim. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, sounds like everyone. So that's carried. And then the second page of the attachment there to the slate, it was the committee appointments, and we're also proposing that the committee memberships stay the same for next year as they were this year. We have the 4 standing committees: Audit Committee, Finance Committee, Governance Committee, and the Personnel Committee, and you guys have that all in front of you as a document was shared with the names and the membership of each of those committees.
The CRC doesn't have a personnel committee, but.
Okay, yeah. So Dory makes a good point. The CRC entity that we're meeting about right now does not have a personnel committee because there are no employees. So we would drop that for this particular meeting. That committee doesn't exist, but and the same will be true for Horizon EDC. But is there any discussion or any comments, questions on the slate of committee members? Okay, how about a motion to accept that slate for 2022?
So moved.
Bill, I'll make the motion, or I'll second it.
Okay, all those in favor? Any opposed? Alright, that is carried as well. So that'll conclude our agenda for this meeting. We'll have a next meeting as needed when items come up. So we'll adjourn now, and we're at 8:36.
Motion.
We have a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Seconded, Kim.
Alright, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. So we're gonna do the EDC, HEDC next, right? Horizon EDC is next. I can find my agenda for that one. So we'll call the meeting to order here, 8:37. We have our same guests. Is there a need for an executive session for this entity?
I think so. You don't have any?
No?
No.
Okay. About a review and approval of the minutes from our prior meeting. Does anybody have any comments or questions on the minutes? Okay, hearing none. But a motion to approve the minutes?
Motion to approve, Kim.
That's
Seconded, Kim.
and Kim, okay, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Alright, carried. Do we have any changes in the agenda for this entity? Okay. Any checks, Doreen, anything for the finance side?
Yes, I have 3 checks numbering 328 to 330, totaling $80,390. The $80,000 being for Floor Enterprises for their loan, which I think closes today, Mike?
It was scheduled for today. There was a slight issue with the title for one of the properties that they're trying to resolve now, so I don't know if we'll get it in today or if it'll
Okay.
be, but it's forthcoming soon.
Okay, can we have a motion to accept that finance report and pay those specific checks?
So moved, Kim.
Thanks, Kim.
Second, Janice.
Second, Janice. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Alright, that's carried. So move on to our action items. So these are the same 3 action items. You probably can't do it in one vote.
No.
But I won't go through each of them in as great of detail, but the first one here, the audit firm appointments, could we have a motion from the floor to accept the finance committee's recommendation and appointment of our auditing firm for next year?
So moved.
So moved, Kim. Oh, seconded, Kim.
Alright, thanks. All in favor?
Great.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Carried. These two I will do together if that's all right with you guys. We would ask for a motion then to accept our slate of officers and our committee appointments for 2022 as proposed here.
So moved.
Noting again, there's no personnel
No
committee.
personnel committee for this entity either, because there are no employees.
So moved.
Thank you, Janice.
Seconded, Kim.
Second, Kim. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Alright, that's carried as well. So that'll conclude our agenda for this meeting. Could we have a motion to adjourn, please?
So moved.
So moved, Kim. Or seconded, Kim.
Okay.
Battle between
All
you
those
two.
in favor?
Sure is.
Aye.
Aye.
Some of us are very efficient, right, Kim?
Alright, carried. So we will call to order the meeting of the Finger Lakes Economic Development Center here at 8:40. And we have our same guests. And do we have a need for an executive session for this entity?
We do, but I think we could probably, in an aspect of time, push that off to the end. Cause it'd be to, personnel matters relating to direct employment, so it doesn't have anything to do with the approvals needed for the project, so with Ryan being on, I think we can push forward and then maybe jump back into executive at the end of the action items.
Okay. Sounds like a good plan. So we'll move on then to the review and approval of our minutes from our prior meeting on November 17th. There's a lot of minutes here with all the different resolutions, like 88 pages or so. Did anybody have any questions or comments, revisions on the minutes? none. We have a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved, Kim.
Motion Kim. Marianne, is that a second that I heard
Yeah.
from you? Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. So all those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, that's carried. Are there any other changes in the agenda other than moving the executive
Did we
session?
have to add anything for the personnel? There's no date to accept the personnel committee recommendation.
They'll come at the end.
No, well, there's,
Yeah, we should add,
Yeah.
I think, item
I see what
7
you're saying.
there
Right.
to have
Yeah.
personnel committee recommendation. Is in item number 7. All right, any other changes to the agenda? Okay. So then we'll move on to the finance report.
Okay, I have check numbers 5742 to 5763 and E71 to E73, which consist of payroll and New York State retirement. That total $110,063.19. I don't think there was anything out of that unusual. We are paying Finger Lakes Rising back for the emergency loan that we overpaid, or that they overpaid to us before for $67,900. It was caught in an audit that we needed to get taken care of before the end of the year, so, other than that, I don't have anything out of the ordinary, I guess.
Okay. Does anyone have any comments or questions on the finances? On Doreen's recommendation here to pay these specific items? I guess the only other thing I would comment is that the year-to-date results are favorable to budget. From a net income standpoint, I think revenues are down slightly, expenses are also down, but by more than that the revenue's down, so the net impact is a positive variance to budget, so it's been another great year here. I know Steve will touch on, or has touched on that in his management report, a lot of the project activity that's a result of that.
I will comment on the revenue side that we have some projects that are closing here before the end of the year, so that should help that along a little bit. Steve's been talking about the project backlog, well, that's finally set free a little bit, so we're moving.
Okay, yeah,
Moving along.
thanks for that. So, how about a motion then to approve the finance report?
So moved.
So moved.
Thanks, James.
Seconded.
Seconded, Kim, okay, all
Yep,
those in
she's
favor?
right on that.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, carried. How about our management reports?
I have nothing new to report.
Okay.
The only thing I'll really add to mine is it was a weird month, as I found myself in COVID quarantine immediately following the Thanksgiving holiday, so it was 10 days out of the office. Thankfully was able to still work from home, kept my sanity instead of doing nothing for most of the days. Took 3 new project inquiries while I was in isolation. And was able to kind of get a lot of administrative work done, created fillable PDFs for all our loan applications, so we use the applicant's process a little bit, and our being able to read some of the handwritten applications hopefully won't be a problem anymore. When I was in quarantine, we had another event downtown. Starshine went on. I obviously couldn't attend, but it sounded like it was a real success. Again, a bunch of people down on Main Street supporting our local businesses, getting people out and about, creating more activity. Hopefully we'll have some more solid numbers on how that really went when I'm able to meet with the Downtown Business Council again. Hopefully this week we'll catch up, or right after the holiday we'll be able to catch up and do kind of a recap of that event. Other than that, if there's any questions, I'll happy to answer any.
Thanks, Mike. Steve?
all right, the only additions I'll make, you do see in the manager's report an overview of the projects, as of date anyways. The Couple quick updates. We did have a public hearing for Cuca Ventures. That's the Top of the Lake restaurant renovation. We aren't ready to go forward with the final votes or anything on that yet, but at the public hearing, there were only 2 guests in attendance, Pat Grimaldi, who's the town assessor for Milo, and something Coots, I forget his first name, that's not good, JJ. He's overseeing the project for Tim Stewart. The only real there's comments, questions about how the pilot was going to be set up, and then Pat did mention that the town supervisor for Milo was in support of the project anyway, so nothing really major to report on that. And then I am meeting after this meeting actually with, if I can say her first name right, Malia, Xavier and Jenny Joyner from Cuca College, working on a senior capstone project for Cuca, which is a interdisciplinary student-led project that Malia reached out to me, seeing if there was a business or businesses in the area that might have a problem to work on, a challenge that they could work on together. And I actually suggested maybe look at the challenge that we've been trying to solve for the Community Associates Board, which is broadening the relationship between the college and the community. So they took that back, and that's, I think, what they're gonna work on. So sort of an internally led project, and with the goal, I believe anyway, seeing about, I think, if it's done, if we improve that relationship, it should help both attraction and retention of employees. That's probably the easier one to, or not employees, students, and maybe employees. That's an easier one to track, and the other one would be just the general awareness and maybe use of college facilities from the community. But excited to see that, to get that started. That'll be fun. Unless there's questions, that's all I have.
Okay. Sounds like we have any questions. Thank you all for all of your comments and efforts throughout the year. It's our last time getting together this year, so on behalf of the board, thank you 3 and Joe for all your efforts on behalf of the EDC.
Absolutely.
You've done a
Thank you
great
guys
job.
for your
Great
time.
year.
Yes, thank you.
Your support. We can't do it without you guys.
In the case of everything changing.
Everything else, yeah.
Yeah.
Constant change. All right, then let's move on to our action items here. We have item number 1, which is our audit firm appointment, similarly to the other 2 entities.
Let me give the name of the audit firm again in this one. So in the
Oh,
approval,
yep.
actually,
Yep.
just the name.
Drescher and Malecki.
We are looking to accept a recommendation from the Audit and Finance Committee to appoint Drescher and Malecki as the audit firm for 2022.
So moved.
All right, thanks, Janice. A second.
Second.
All right, thank you, Amy. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, and carried. So item 2 here is a lease for Church Creative Flooring, and Doreen detailed that in her management report section, but I don't know if there are any other comments you want to make, Doreen, or any questions?
No, just Dee Westfall from Church Creative Flooring. They have a small office on one side of the basement. She's been talking about wanting to lease the other side. She wasn't exactly sure what she wanted to do with it. There was different things, but apparently she would like to have a interior design office. Must be where she can meet with clients and all that stuff. So she wanted to move forward with renting the rest of that space. So it's, what is that, 795 square feet, $395 a month, and $100 for utilities for 1 year. And then
Okay. Thanks, Doreen. Does anybody have any questions on that? All right. How about a motion to approve that lease?
So moved.
Thanks, Janice. Second?
Second, Amy.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, carried. So then we'll move on to our project here, approval for the day. We have the Solar Village LLC final resolution. Turn it over to Mike and Steve here, if you guys want to give us an overview and let us know what we're looking to do here.
So this is, excuse me, would be the final resolution. We've had, the solar village, if you recall, is a planned apartment complex development of 125 units that will be 100% renewable energy. Really nice design, interesting design set up for it. Helps fill some of the gap we need in our housing supply here. Total, we've gone through the initial resolution and the public hearing. We've detailed the public hearing comments that came out. Actually, at our last meeting, there weren't any. At the second meeting, recall we had one meeting initially because the original project was 85 units. The company came back and said, no, we're actually gonna do 125 units, so we went forth with a second public hearing. There were no additional comments there. The first ones, the comments really centered around less to do with the project itself, more to do with really the intersection down at the bottom of Bath Road and 54 and Hillcrest. That's quite a tricky intersection, so it had more to do just with traffic counts, I guess, car counts, and a little bit of safety down at that issue. And there was a couple neighbors that were concerned just because it's a pretty big change from what it looks like currently. And I would tell you that the company has at least listened to it, and we're aware of the concerns, especially of the one neighbor who's basically directly across the street from where the entrance and exit will be for the complex. But the project made its way through all of the village approvals, or I'm sorry, the town of Milo approvals. So now we're back for the final approving resolution here. The final resolution, again, it's a $29.4 million project, 125 units. We're looking at total exemptions of, drum roll please, 2,706,421. We're looking at total economic benefit to the community of 31,272,900. That is not including, by the way, construction salaries and wages paid during construction. That is only the payroll attributed, permanent payroll attributed to the project, as well as the company investment, and then the pilot payments made during that same 10-year period. It is a 10-year pilot, 100% break on the increase to assessed value year one, increasing 10% every year after. So it's roughly a 12-to-1 community benefit to community investment ratio, and then adds, like we said, much needed residential units to our supply. So outside of that, I'm happy to answer any questions, and we do have Ryan Wallace, who is an executive with the company, able to answer any questions if there are any from the board.
Steve, what's the kind of average range of the rents for the
What's
units?
gonna be the average rent ranges, Ryan?
So there's a fairly significant range. Half the units, a little over half, are income restricted at 80% of area median income, which is still a household income approximately $60,000 per year. So it's very much a middle income target, and rents for those units start at $11.50 a month, and that's inclusive of all utilities and internet. And then the rents go up to as high as $2,000 a month for the market units, and generally ones fetching those rents are the third story units on the front building that have pretty significant views of the lake.
Okay. Thanks, Ryan.
And then I just want to mention, and Steve's been good to not necessarily include this as part of the community benefit, because it's in some ways it's not directly tied to the project, but this will be the first product out of our new factory in Geneva where we're hiring 100 new tradespeople, and our workforce development plan through the Carpenters Union and the IBEW has us recruiting a majority of those folks out of Penn Yan Academy and Geneva High School on a 4-to-1 apprentice journeyman ratio. So we're going to be pretty actively recruiting out of recent graduates and new graduates out of the academy.
That's a real benefit,
Yeah.
actually, Ryan. I should have brought that up, and thanks for reminding me.
Are there any other comments or questions from the board?
Will any of this solar go back into New York State, or is it built for the complex, like to consume 100% of what you produce?
So yes, all the solar in the complex is for internal use. It does feed back during the day or especially during summer months into the grid, but the financial benefit is reaped by the building owners and the residents. So we include utilities in the rent. The solar offsets our cost to provide those utilities.
Ryan, what is the planned timeline for the project, the breaking ground to having it completed and occupied?
Currently, we plan to break ground in middle of next year. It's fairly extensive civil work that will have to be done, and the new factory is actually will be expanded around the same time. The factory won't be producing modules for KUCA until beginning of 2023. First occupancy should be late 2023.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, this is Bill. Just as far as the apprentice program with the Penn Yan Academy, are you going to reach out to Dundee as well?
Yes, yeah, actually, let's just put it this way, the BOCES folks have not been real optimistic on being able to actually fulfill our numbers, so we are looking at Dundee, Geneva High, Penn Yan Academy, and Marcus Woodland.
Okay, thank you.
Did you guys decide on a name?
I'm sorry, name for the development.
Yeah.
It's just known as the KUCA Solar Village.
Okay.
Yep. And Sam Kastner is going to be doing our entry signs and building accents. I'm really excited to see what he comes up with.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's cool.
That's great.
Sorry to interrupt, this is Russ. I have to jump. Happy holidays, everybody. Steve is on, so you're in good hands. And I apologize for the scheduling blunder, but that's the time of year that I'm dealing with right now. So happy holidays, everybody.
Happy
Thanks,
holidays.
Russ. Thanks, Russ. Take care. Alrighty, any other comments, questions about the project then? Alright, how about a motion to approve the final resolution then?
So moved.
Janice, in a second?
Second.
Amy with a second? This is a roll call vote, so I ask Doreen to take us through that.
Alright, Amy?
Yes.
Kim is absent. Mary Ann?
Yes.
Bill?
You're on mute, Bill.
Still on
Alright.
There he is.
Sorry, couldn't unmute.
Janice?
Yes.
Ryan?
Yes. You get Mary Ann too.
I did get Mary Ann, yep.
Alright,
Yep, she answered.
so that is carried. Thank you, everyone. Thanks, Ryan, for joining us today.
Thank you all for your work on this. It's sincerely appreciated. We'll get to work.
Yeah, be exciting.
Great.
Looking forward to it.
Very
Very
excited.
good, thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
And don't feel you need to stay on, Ryan. You won't hurt our feelings if you if you sign off at this point.
No problem.
Our scintillating
Have a
meter,
good
come
day.
on now.
Alright.
Thanks, you too.
Alright, well, we'll keep moving on then. We have items 4 and 5 on our action agenda here, the committee appointments and the slate of officers. I'll just state them here for this meeting. The slate of officers would be myself as the chair, Janice as the vice chair, Serene as treasurer, Kim as secretary, and Marianne as assistant secretary and treasurer. And then our 4 committees, standing committees, are the Audit Committee, Finance, Governance, and Personnel Committees. The committee appointments were circulated, as were the slate of officers, and this would be a good time to ask any questions that anybody has or voice any objections. And if not, if we could have a motion to approve both of those recommendations.
So moved.
All right, thank you, Janice.
Second.
And a second from me. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that's carried.
I was really hoping, I'm curious if there's gonna be a coup, kind
Yeah.
of see, someone take down Ryan without his knowing.
He was hoping.
I was trying to organize one, it just didn't materialize.
No way.
It wouldn't have been heartbroken, I don't think, but we're good.
Nobody would take it.
All right, so then we'll move on to our next item here, and it's a discussion about the Marijuana Regulations and Taxation Act. So,
Yep.
what do you guys have for us here?
So, as many have probably heard, the Village of Penn Yan is meeting tomorrow night to discuss the new state legislation regarding the sales and use of marijuana across New York State. Being the sole economic development agency for the county, we've received inquiries from several individuals on what our stance on the proposal and what the village is voting on, just for our feedback. So New York State in March of 2021 approved or legalized marijuana use, and then left it up to the local municipalities to decide if they want to allow the sales of recreational marijuana within their jurisdiction, as well as it's and/or on-site consumption of marijuana. So it'd be like a bar, but for smoking, I guess, or a lounge. So tomorrow night, the village is holding a public hearing to get public comment and feedback on the 2 proposals. So it's again, it's an and/or. The village could decide to either allow or not allow recreational sales, and/or they could allow or not allow on-site consumption. So we just wanted to bring it to the board for discussion on kind of our feelings, so that we can let some of the people that have asked us about the proposal and the legislation on what our feeling is.
And it's 21. You have to be 21.
21, correct. Yep.
Just check.
Yep. So the way the law is written is the local municipality has to make a decision to opt out of either sales or on-site consumption by the end of December 2021. If no action is taken, then the municipality is automatically opted in, meaning they'd allow both sales and on-site consumption. There's been a lot of discussion between the public and the village trustees. There's been a lack of regulation and information from the state on how these programs are going to be rolled out. So there's a little bit of concern. Okay, what's this going to look like? And then if you do opt out, then you're basically the community, the municipality is foregoing any potential revenue from sales within the municipality.
They can opt back in.
Correct.
Once you opt in, you cannot opt out. If you opt out, you can opt in.
Yep.
Which I think that, even that language alone, I think has probably spooked a lot of municipalities, like why would that be? But, yeah, so I mean, our stance has been, there's been lots of questions to us on this, and it's been a fairly hotly debated issue, especially within the village of Penn Yan. You don't hear about it much in the other towns. But it has been in the village, and I think probably because the village has decided to put it out to a public referendum, a vote, to see which way they wanna go. And that, by doing it that way, that obviously has created interest and discussion, and in fact, the hearing is tomorrow, right?
Tomorrow night, yeah.
At the Penn Yan Auditorium, because they think of the amount of crowd that's going to attend. Our initial stance on this has been, if it's legal, the state has said it's legal already, it's now up to the municipalities whether they wanna allow the sale and consumption, or the sale of it. That, you know, if it's a business that's operating under the state regulations and restrictions and approvals and doing it in a legal way, then, you know, we don't really view it as a business any different than any other entity that has to operate within state legal approvals and laws. The easy connection or analogy is our breweries and our wineries, restaurants that serve alcohol. So, you know, we viewed it sort of along those same lines, that.
Steve, have there been studies done about what the economic impact might be to Penn Yan?
I don't think down to that level. There's been, and I couldn't recite them offhand, I know there's been some, well, at least I would assume there's been studies done on what the impact will be revenue-wise for the state. But I don't think there's one that's been done down to the granular level of each municipality.
But from an economic impact standpoint, though, the sale and consumption of marijuana within a community adds to that economic viability of the community or detracts? Is there, just generally speaking?
I've had some people from the public send me reports that show it's a positive, and that every municipality so far that in other parts of the country that have allowed it have seen an increase in the economy within that jurisdiction, both from a labor participation rate, which I think goes sort of counterintuitive to everything we've ever been we've ever been taught about it, but it's actually increased labor participation rates, increased sales tax revenues, and that sort of thing. And but yeah, I mean, I'm sure there's probably some reports out there that would show it the opposite way too. I just haven't been sent those.
Well, the state of
So
California is like.
Are you looking for our opinion individually and then collectively we would stand by that?
Yeah, I think we've been asked a couple to give our sort of public stance on it, and we didn't want to do so without having a discussion with the board, because obviously we are a reflection of your own views too. So if Mike and I and Doreen are out there saying, yeah, we're fully in support or fully opposed, and that's not the way the board thinks, then you now get dragged into it and without those same beliefs. So I did have a brief discussion with Ryan, and I failed to send the email out on it, but again, just sort of sharing my view on it, that if it's a legalized business within the state of New York, I think it'd be challenging for us to say we're not going to support a business that would come to us for incentives or help. That's being, that's I don't know how we could do that.
A whole new crop that's gonna be out here instead of corn. Seriously.
Yeah, in our conversation, I had expressed some of the same views. If it's a legal business operating, selling legal products in the state of New York, I think as an economic development agency, we'd want to be as supportive as we could of any business wanting to grow and expand in our community. It's complicated because we're not wanting to detract from everything that we have here too. So I understand and appreciate the local land use and the zoning decisions that are needed to be made at the town and the municipality level, which those are not decisions this board gets to make. But from I would think if a business approached us, it would be our kind of charge or our charter to help facilitate that business growth and economic expansion in the community.
And I
That's
think
my
too,
personal belief.
selfishly, it'll probably help me recruit students.
So I guess.
No, I support everything that you're saying. I think that, our concern is economic development. This supports economic development, would be very difficult to not support it, so. it's my
Yeah.
opinion.
I agree with Amy. I think the question I have though is on consumption and how that interfaces with the smoking laws, right? So how can you consume marijuana in a bar? Mind you, I am not a heavy user, so I'm not exactly sure. Maybe in brownies, I get that. Okay, so that would work. But I just didn't know how that, is there a conflict in the consumption of marijuana in a public area with the smoking laws where you can't smoke? So that would be the only question I had, because you do consume
Yeah, but
secondhand smoke, so I
it's a
didn't
great
know.
question, but again, I don't think that's similar to a bar. Like, we don't, once that, people aren't necessarily allowed to leave unless they get a special permit for special events, leave that facility or that bar
With a
with,
drink in their
with a
hand.
drink in hand, right? They can't
Mhm.
walk around town with an open container. But that's not, we're not in the,
I was just curious.
Oh,
not,
okay. All right,
I'm,
yeah.
I'm in agreement
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
what Amy said. It was just more curiosity because I can see
So-
people going into a bar and they're consuming marijuana and they walk out and they're high. They don't know it. I'm just joking, but I was just curious.
you can consume it
Right.
now. It's legal to consume now. Like, even the village can't
Yeah, but I think
prevent that.
what Janice is saying though is you can't go to a bar and smoke cigarettes, or
Oh.
because of the secondhand smoke type
Right,
thing, and I don't
yeah.
know what the indoor smoking rules are. I don't think you can
can't smoke
do that
in any
anywhere.
public
Yeah, so I
place.
assume the smoke, just
So
full
that-
stop, that would stop people
I
from
think
smoking.
there
It's
is-
just a curiosity.
Yeah, it is an
Wonder if
interesting
there's
issue,
like
though. If
a-
you can't smoke a cigarette in a
It's
certain
their
place,
brownies,
should you be
right?
able to,
Right.
and how that overlays.
And the village is having discussions on that currently, both for tobacco and marijuana use, whether it's traditional cigarette or vape. They're discussing all those options and where they're gonna allow it and potentially not allowing it on any public parks, obviously, but they're looking into saying, okay, can't even do it on any sidewalks or within certain distance of a business or facility. So those are all still being discussed. More to kind of your question, I think there's state regulation and right now lack of regulation or what's gonna be forthcoming to allow the on-site consumption. But there's cigar bars right now,
Oh, yeah.
so you can go in and
Yeah,
smoke
that
a cigar
I'm fine.
inside.
Right, but you
so they're
know
gonna-
when you go into a cigar bar, you're gonna go in
Right,
there,
and I
you know
think
what's
that-
gonna happen. If I go into Parker's to have a meal and people are sitting at the bar toking, then I'm probably not gonna go personally, but I was
Right.
just curious.
I don't think that won't be allowable. It would be a specific,
Be pretty funny though.
a unique spot, facility that's the only
Sorry.
place. Yep, no, that would be.
Sorry for being disruptive.
Oh, you're good.
You're fine.
The other piece of again, I agree with Amy, but we do a lot of work with the cannabis industry, and the source of the cannabis, in terms of knowing what you're buying, I don't know if New York State has that sorted out yet either, so that whole supply chain issue and following it, and that's a whole nother area, but I mean, California, they started to get out of their debt with their cannabis sales back, a few years ago. It's crazy. It's like almost as big as wine in California, the legitimate cannabis sales. But forget about all the other stuff. Pretty interesting. Sorry.
I think that this has been a tsunami that's been coming at us for a long time. And to not take advantage of it from the onset would just be like burying our heads in the sand. So I think that, I agree with what everybody has said, and I think that we should be for it and start to learn what it is, in dealing with, what the regulations are gonna be and how to work with it rather than work against it, because it's inevitable. So why prolong it?
So I think, our stance doesn't have to be, we think a municipality should allow it or not allow it. I could be, but it doesn't have to be. The stance could be just as simple as stating what we've said previously. Look, if it's legal and they're doing it the correct way and the legal way and following all the state requirements, then we're gonna support it as we would any other business that does the same. It's up
As
to
long
each.
as they have a business license.
Right, it's up to each, and, each individual municipality to decide whether they wanna allow a store of it within their municipalities, and if they choose not to, then that's their choice, and obviously we won't incentivize a business to go in there, cause they're not allowed to, so, and I think it could be just that simple, as it would be for, again, any other, again, in this industry, any sort of alcohol or.
Yeah, we did the same thing at BSI, like we're super conservative, and this guy called from Texas, and he wanted to get certified in preparation for cannabis being legalized in Texas. And the salesperson like, can we do this? Come on. And I'm like, do they have a business license to sell cannabis? No. Then you have your answer. We cannot he can get everything ready to be certified as soon as it's legal, but no, you can't go in and certify him. Let's go certify the cartel. Yeah, great idea.
Yeah, so I don't think we need a formal resolution or anything, just,
No.
general.
Just alignment.
Yeah, just if we're okay, that'll be our response when they ask.
Mhm.
I think that's appropriate, and it's
Okay.
common for the agency to talk with local municipalities and encourage them to support local
Right.
economic development in their communities, and to not be barriers to
Right.
that development. I think that'd be an appropriate conversation to have, but I think stopping short of having an official resolution passed that they need to do this and that, I think, that'd be my personal preference. I don't know that
Yeah,
we wanna
Yeah,
go
that makes more
Okay.
sense to
that
me.
direction, but I think it sounds like we're pretty pro on the idea of it.
Okay. Good, that was it. Right? Is that- I mean,
So-
That was perfect.
So, back to our agenda items here, we do need to call for an executive session to talk about specific employment of specific individuals.
Yep.
And so I would ask for a motion to enter that executive session.
So moved.
Okay, Janice, in a second. Someone. Is that you, Bill?
We need a second
Yes,
from.
second.
Yeah.
All right, thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Bye.
All right. We'll head into executive session then, and Michael, let us know when we're ready.
They're, Catholic Charities, we let use this room every Christmas, so we rent it for, must be they collect gifts or something, so they're loading them all up, must be to deliver.
Oh.
Very good.
All right, now that the recording's back active, could we have a motion to exit executive session?
So moved.
Janice, in a second.
Second.
Amy, all right, all in favor? Aye?
Aye.
All right. So we have a motion on the floor to accept the Personnel Committee's recommendation for staff salary increases for 2022. Could we have a motion to accept the committee's recommendation?
So moved.
All right, Janice?
Second.
Second, Amy. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that's carried. Our next meeting is scheduled for January 19th, 2022. We'll have to
We might have to
make the
change
one or
that
two.
based on,
What's the
New York State E
EDC
EDC.
conferences?
All right,
Okay.
so
That
we'll
day.
be in touch on that.
Yep.
How about a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All right, thanks, Amy.
Second.
Second, Janice. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Merry Christmas, everybody.
Thanks a lot.
Merry
Merry
Christmas.
Christmas.